Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bouk and Zoobie show on the world famous LIR.com, 927 LIR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake, Zoobie. So now we're going to say, go New York, go New York, go.
You are the happiest guy in the tri-state area. I'm telling you, you deserve it. You deserve it. You've been a huge Nick fan for decades. I've known you for decades. We used to go to the Garden when we were teenagers, sitting in the blue seats, and for them to make this step. And now that there's a two-parter to this, right, John? It's the how many years without being to the finals in the Eastern Conference, right? 25.
Yeah,
But the reality is it's just still not good enough.
it's still not good enough. I mean, I've been a Nick fan since 1975, so I'm on my 50th year not seeing them win a championship. 50 years.
It just fits in perfectly, John, with most
It,
of the teams we root for.
yeah,
It's either 50 or 40 or 30. It's all we all know. It's just been forever. So they got some work to do, but they have a legitimate chance, John,
they have a legitimate
definitely to
shot.
win the championship.
They can.
Obviously, first things first with the, let's face it, the dreaded and hated Indiana Pacers.
You know, the funny thing is everyone kind of ignored the Pacers. I mean, they've been a really hot team. Really hot team. Even the Timberwolves. You know, the Timberwolves in their last 30 games are 25-5. So
Yeah.
they are absolutely on a roll. But I think you're going to see a final of OKC against the Knicks. You know, everyone's talking about all the Pacers. They use 10 or 11 guys, and you know they spread around the minutes. Well, I don't know if that's good or bad. All I know is our guys fight to the last second. You have to give them credit. I mean, that last game, I actually thought going into that game six that they were going to blow them out. I just didn't come out and say it, but I just felt like, all right, they gave us their last best shot. They wanted to do well in front of their fans, but I said, there's no way they're going to be able to match up with us. And it was just, I mean, that defense was just amazing. Now that we have Mitchell Robinson, I mean, man, what a difference! What a difference! And Josh Hart, I mean, he's like a prize fighter. This guy gets knocked down, he opens up his eyes, he gets stitched up, comes right back out. I mean, I love this team. I love this team. I love it when they play defense. When they play defense, they can beat any team. And that aggressive defense they played against the Celtics was something to watch. I mean, they put on a clinic that night with how to play defense.
No, they had a great game, and but also they played so well offensively as well, and
Yes,
that helps, right? So
yes, it does.
nothing like a good offense to help your defense. Definitely moving the ball more, more contributions across the board.
Right.
Uh, Free throw shooting. I mean, Big Mitch really put it to him when. I mean, what did he end up doing? Right, he made 7 out of 8 that game. Is that what he ended with? I believe, right?
Yeah, even the game before he was 6 of 6, which
Oh,
was
okay. I'm combining the two games. That's what I'm doing, right?
yeah, he was
Uh,
6 of 6,
he was
which
six
was
of
great.
six, and then I guess he only shot a couple in the last game.
Yeah, yes,
Okay, it was such
yeah,
like you said. It was a blowout, and I was moving on to some other sports because there was a lot of stuff going on. But because you just knew it that they had their number in that game, and yeah, Boston. Obviously without their best player, they can say that. But as you know, and what you said last year, and I know this just absolutely killed you last year that the Knicks didn't get a shot at them
yeah.
because of injury. No way that the Celtics can use injuries as an excuse. So kudos to the Knicks. Kudos to Tom Thibodeau because I've been, one of those guys who've been kind of on him for not properly using his bench. He's getting a little better, but even at the end, John, he refused to pull guys. That was you must have been you. I
I
mean, you
said
just didn't
no
want to
injuries,
watch it.
no
That's all.
injuries. I was kept saying
Like,
no injuries, please.
what are you doing?
I know someone else who is probably screaming about it because he's been screaming about it for the past 2 years is Gamal Smith, who's a guest on this show every so often, has said that he wanted him fired because of his usage. And he goes, you see him at the end of the year, they're dead tired. I said, listen, I look at it this way, that if you're doing it all year and you're playing 37, 38, 39 minutes, that means that you've built up your stamina. It's not something that you're asking them to do all of a sudden. And that's why you see some of these teams wearing down. I mean, that's what happened with Cleveland. Those guys were notorious for playing 30 minutes, 32 minutes. And I forgot who it was. He was absolutely exhausted. I think it was Mitchell, that he was just dead tired. He had he missed he got fouled on a 3-point shot and he missed all 3 foul shots in a very crucial part of the last game. And uh, so I think it actually works in Nick's favor that they have the stamina. They've been through it all year.
All right,
They
all
got a
right.
couple of days of rest here, heal up, let's go. And I don't care how much the Pacers want to run the ball and they're talking about all the. I'm sorry, that doesn't mean anything to me.
All
It
right.
means
So,
zero.
all right. So you
Knicks in 6.
Knicks in 6. I'm gonna go Knicks in 7. They have the home court, right?
Right.
And Game 7 will be at the Garden. So I'm gonna, the Pacers are tough. They're a tough. Tyrese Halliburton is playing at a really amazing level. He struggled a bit in the playoffs last year, but this year he's really taken over.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just you got to go for the home team. There's no way I'm predicting against them. The out, I don't know what else to say about the Knicks. I mean, you pretty much talked about it. Brunson and just Towns and Bridges, right, all played such a good Game 7, and it just really helps when they're making shots, right? You got
Right.
to make shots at the end of the
And
day.
distribute the ball.
Right.
If you let, Towns played much more aggressive. That's what he should be doing. Keep driving the ball in. If they're not going to give you the 3-point shot, drive it in, and that's exactly what he was doing. Like I said, this was no surprise to me that they beat him. I was expecting them. I've said it many times, but it's just the way they did it. I mean, falling behind by 20, by 14. It was refreshing to them finally to see them win when we didn't have to hold our breath for hours.
Well, you had to scramble back for victory as opposed to
Yeah,
being ahead like they were finally. So yeah, just kind of a crazy series. Yeah, just tough guys, like you've said. And it's also how the game's being called as well, and that's something they have to be careful. Don't pick up ticky tack
right,
foul in the
right.
beginning of the game. Brunson, Hart, and Towns, right? Those three guys
Yeah.
can they have a habit of picking up, reach-ins and things that they just have to be careful, right, Chad? That's one thing you got to be a little concerned about.
Yeah, yeah. And uh, overall, I mean, even the bench played well. I mean, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce actually played very good. Listen, if we can get those two guys and they actually put in our man Precious Achua in for a couple of minutes and campaign, you know, he just has such a funky shot, that guy.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It,
Yeah, now
it,
you
it,
don't want him shooting.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
I mean, the way he shoots, he's like all the way behind his head. It's just a strange way of shooting. I mean, he's a gutsy guy, but to put him in against the Pacers or OKC, I would not do that. I would not.
right,
They
right.
would run right over him.
Yeah, no.
So
I think for guys like Payne and Achua, there's nothing wrong with them getting 5, 6 minutes and just give somebody a break, give somebody a blow,
yeah,
and that just helps the team. That's what kind of gets me crazy with Tibbs. But hey, he's going for it his way, and I don't think it's changing.
no,
And I don't expect much of those guys. And you're right, they're going to probably play a 7-man rotation for the most part, with maybe Payne, right, getting a little time.
Maybe,
I don't
maybe.
see Achua playing unless there's foul trouble. So, I mean, yeah, I think the plus minus that Rich Robinson had was incredible, and just to show what an impact he is on the defensive and offensive glass.
He's
Um,
so long. I mean, you look at his wingspan. I mean, it's incredible when you
and
really
I
look
like
at
when
his
they
wingspan.
play the big guys together. I like that.
Yes, yes, yes. I like that too.
I do. It
And
makes them a bigger team. I kind of like that lineup with Ananobi and then Brunson and Hart as your. Now the thing is, Bridges has played so well too, so you can go either way with that. But I do like the big lineup. Now, when you look at Indiana, I mean, Turner's a good player, but again, he's more of a perimeter player. This is like I mean, you probably seen him a lot more than I have this
yeah,
year.
yeah.
They are a perimeter team. Another one, just like the Celtics, relying on the 3 point.
Just play. Like I said, you got to defend against the three with these guys. If you defend against the three, you're going to stop them cold. They have to, they can, everyone's making the assumption, oh, well, if he's a couple of feet behind the 3 point line, there's no way he's making a shot. It just seems to me that these guys are going further and further away and making the shots. It's incredible some of these distances that they're making it. But people don't realize if you're 6'10" and you're 250 pounds, that's like nothing for you to shoot it. A normal person is like, wow, I have to put a lot of effort into doing. Those guys, it's just like throwing a feather to them.
Yeah, when Towns does take one of the those the logo type of shots as we'll call them, I get a little squeamish. He does make them sometimes, definitely,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a backbreaker, but I don't want to make a habit of that. I just think it's kind of depends on the flow of the game.
Right, right,
You're
right.
up like 6 to 8, and then you pull up from that to try to put a dagger in them a little bit. Maybe that's okay, but I don't know. I don't want to see too much of that. But you're
No.
right. Distribution by Brunson was just so much better in the last few games. But at the same time, let's face it. Game 6, it wasn't. They played. He fouled out. They looked terrible.
Yep.
So it's hard to say. We both think they're going to win, but let's face it. You can't be shocked if it doesn't go their way. Getting off to a good start. So that will be Wednesday, right? That will be
Wednesday,
tomorrow,
8 p.m.
right? On May 20th, the Bouk and Zoobie show, John, show number 99. So we're looking forward to the next show, which will be our 100th show, which is obviously a milestone for us. So we're pretty excited about that. And then tonight's episode, you may have noticed if you're watching on youtube.com or listening on spotify.com, we had to we're pulling our intro and exit songs. Nothing to do with the world famous LIR.com. We're still proudly on their platform,
Yeah.
927LIR.com. But we have been told by numerous people that it is hurting our distribution on YouTube, where it's a copyright issue. So as much as we enjoy those songs, right, John, at the beginning and the
Mhm.
end, we are going to remove them and see how it goes. And if honestly, John, if the numbers don't change much, we're going to say the heck with that and bring the music back.
That's right. One,
So, yes,
one thing I want to talk about, it's Nick related.
of course,
So
get back to the Knicks.
at 3 p.m., the day of Game 6 at the Garden, I get an email from the Knicks saying that they have tickets available for sale at 3 p.m., 4.5 hours before game time. Was it a 7:30 or 8 o'clock start?
I think I actually started 8 the last game.
8. Okay, so it was 5 hours before the game was going to start. Saying that there were tickets available and actually they were pretty, if you want to think about being reasonable for a playoff game, $360, decent seats. And it was from the Knicks themselves. It wasn't like a third party, because if you go on Ticketmaster, if it's blue, it means that the Knicks are selling. If it's pink, it's a resale. So these were all blue seats in pretty close to center court in the 3 section. So that was a surprise, but of course, when you get an email that late, and I was going to call you, but then I realized that there was a New Jersey transit strike, so I said, there's no way he's going to be able to make it. So I said, you know what, I'll stay home and watch it on TV. But then after that game was over, the next day, I get a new email that there's a pre-sale for the Eastern Conference Finals and actually the finals as well. I said, oh, all right, maybe I could grab some tickets. From the Knicks, no resale now. Some of the worst seats. If you remember, I complained about the ones when we were in a 2 section behind the basket during St. John's. So imagine now that if you're in the 3 section behind the basket and they're asking you for $1,260 per ticket. That is the cheapest ticket. And then they have the nerve, if you're going to be sitting at a counter, what do they call those seats?
Whatever they call them, the counter seat, whatever.
Yeah, the counter seat, whatever.
You don't have a seat, you just sit by.
Right.
You have like a bench or like a little stool, right?
Stool seats.
The stool seat.
$1,350 for a stool seat. That's for only Eastern Conference Finals. Now for the finals, the same exact seats will cost you $2,700 and $3,000. So you tell me, who's buying these tickets unless you're absolutely, I don't know, you're wealthy, you're corporate, it's all corporate. I mean, you go get seats all the way downstairs, $40,000 a seat. Are they insane? This is insane. There's no the real fans are actually outside of Madison Square Garden, where they have a big screen TV now, and what used to be traffic going through there, they've actually closed off that entire block now. So they have it almost like, I don't know, where they have restaurants and there's places you could sit. It's like a plaza, like what they did with Times Square. So they've set up a big screen TV there, and they have tens of thousands of fans out there. Those are the real fans. The ones in
hey, that's the way it works with this stuff. I mean, it's the same thing with all the sports. Entertainment's a fortune. People have some money. People have to burn. Maybe it's some cryptocurrency profits, John. You never know. Somebody might be taking some profits there. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but that's interesting. Day of that the prices change. So it's fine, John. I have no issues watching from home at all. It's now the strike is over, so we'll throw that out there for the tri-state area fans, the poor people in New Jersey who unfortunately had to deal with that for a couple of days. But anyway, back to quickly, I just want to make sure that people like episodes. Please like the episodes on YouTube and on Spotify. And if you are Spotify.com listeners and want to check out our content on YouTube, you got to search the show, Bouk, B-O-U-K, and Zoobie, Z-O-O-B-I-E. So as always, we really appreciate everybody checking it out. And also to our recent guests, Lieutenant Dan and Alex Stan, who is a big Knick fan. And that could be a good segue shifting to the other side, because I remember, Alex, when we talked a little NBA, I'll let you go, but I just wanted to mention this. He did say that Denver would not win because they didn't have a coach, and he turned out to be right.
That's true. That's true. You did remember that. Because we're talking about the NBA right now, there was something else that happened that made both of us very, very upset. And especially you, because Paul Zubulake will be doing our first rant of the day.
Thanks, John. Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, the problem with the rant that I have is it's a little old because we are doing shows every other week during the non-football season. So this did come up. I guess it's been definitely been over a week where the miracle of mathematics has occurred. Not only did it happen in the NBA, it also happened with the NHL. And we did briefly talk about this with Lieutenant Dan, that his beloved Islanders pulled off a statistical anomaly by winning the first round pick at a 3% chance, roughly. So John, I'm a man of probability. You know that. I'm a bit of a math guy, a markets guy, and there's always this concept of risk reward, odds to win if you're gambling or trading or whatever it is. So you always try to look at probabilities. And the one thing that I've always did, John, in my life is trust the numbers, right? But there's only one space in our society where you don't trust the numbers: professional sports draft lotteries. So, what happened in the NBA where there is a prospect of prospects coming out and is out, Cooper Flag, who's not only a tremendous ball player, but he's also a guy who's, let's face it, is going to help at the box office. So whoever got this pick was really going to be a happy person. So what happens at a 2% probability? Maybe it was 2.8. The Dallas Mavericks incredibly got the first round pick. Amazingly, after a trade that basically everybody in the league and outside said was one of the worst trades in the history of the league. Now, it didn't really turn out in the playoffs that way, but that's another story. Where Luka Doncic went to the Lakers. And so, how did the Dallas Mavericks get rewarded?
It's incredible.
At a 2.8% probability. So, John, I don't know what the NBA is thinking. And the other part of this is that not only they are not even the number one of all time in low percentage in the NBA. Incredibly, Orlando, John, did you know this a couple of years ago? Also
Yeah.
beat the odds.
Yes, they
So you would
did.
say, okay, why would the NBA fix it for Orlando? I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with Walt Disney, ESPN, and the NBA. Who knows? But all I can tell you is when it comes to probability, you got to throw it out the window when it comes to the NBA, the NHL draft lottery system. And that is the first rant of the week.
And there was a funny thing that with Shaquille O'Neal, he had an interview. It was about 2 days ago or 3 days ago. And he talked about having a conversation with David Stern. And David Stern, and again, this is coming out of Shaquille O'Neal's mouth right now. He said David Stern asked him, "Do you like cold weather or hot weather?" And he goes, "Oh, I definitely want warm weather." So the next thing he says, "I'm watching the draft." He goes, "Minnesota gets the third pick. Charlotte gets the second pick." And he goes, all of a sudden, Orlando gets the number one pick. He says, "Now you tell me," because he was remarking about how he thought how this one was fixed. And he remarked about his own pick, you know, he himself being the first pick being fixed.
And this is not
So,
the one I was talking about, obviously, a couple of years ago. That's when they
yeah,
got Caro. So,
right,
but
right.
there, that Disney connection with, with ESPN and the league is
That
a
too, yeah.
relationship, so you could use that. But John, it just let's face it. I mean, there's no transparency. What they claim some accounting firm is
Yeah,
charging for. Oh yeah, like there's not enough. John, there's so much money at stake. And you know who owns the Dallas Mavericks now, right? It's not Mark Cuban, folks.
no.
It is a huge political donor.
and a huge casino owner too, as
Casino,
well.
huge supporter of the current president. It's just too funny, John, because you had a franchise in Dallas that was definitely reeling. It's a big TV market. So that's where Cooper Flag is going. It's going to be a great draft, John. There's a lot of good players, and we'll see if he's the best. Of course, there's always the naysayers, and they should trade him or that sort of thing. But the bottom line is that's not happening.
No,
He's too much at the box office. He's a great player too, but we'll see. You still got to prove it on the court.
and what a recovery by the Dallas Mavericks. I like, wow.
Well,
When they got that pick, I was like, wow, wow, wow.
anyway, well, quickly, let's talk. We don't want to talk a ton about the Western Conference, but I mean, there is something to say about not having a coach with any experience, and it kind of showed a little bit in that series. But I mean, losing really, even though he played, Aaron Gordon was really kind of a shell of himself. So,
Yeah,
you know, I'm
they had a
glad.
lot of they had
I'm glad
injuries,
he won.
and the way they came back in that seventh game. I mean, in the beginning, they looked absolutely dead or frightened, and they were down by 11, and then all of a sudden they just started playing deep. I mean, they just ran Denver out of the building by the first half. I mean, it was a close game with like 2 minutes to go in the half, and then they just ran them right out of the building.
Well,
Where
what
by
they
the
did, yeah, I thought the most interesting thing of that game was how they put Alex Caruso
Yeah,
on Jokic, and that's where not having a good coach really came up because why aren't you sliding him down into the low post? Because they like to play with Jokic from the foul line
yeah,
where he runs the offense up there, and that doesn't work against a smaller player who's not afraid to get in his face.
yeah.
So job by the OKC coach, which I'm sure 99% of the fans can't even know who that guy. What's that? That's a good one. What's his name? The OKC's coach,
I
Deschamps.
don't even know how to pronounce his
Yeah,
name.
it's
I
like a
know it's
French name almost. So
Diagonal or
yeah,
whatever,
right.
something
So
along.
that was to me the big adjustment that they made, and Denver just did not adjust to that, and it took them really out of their game.
Well, people don't realize that the OKC's coach just came from the bottom. I mean, he really went through the entire organization. He was in the G League as a coach before they finally got his chance with OKC. So, when you look at his background, he absolutely is like one of these basketball lifers. I mean, he worked his way up. He reminds me a lot of the way Thibodeau is. That basketball is his life. So it was good to see. It's good to see. It was just shocking for a veteran team like Denver to just totally fall apart like that. I mean, they fell apart quickly. And
Yeah,
once they were down so much at the half, I think it was 14 or 16 points when
yeah.
they were within four with 2 minutes, and then they just kept stealing the ball. It was just a wild. It was like an explosion.
No, hey, OKC's tough. They got a good team. Our old buddy Hartenstein. I mean, he's a huge part of it.
Yeah,
So they also have two bigs with him and Holmgren. Jalen Williams had a huge game, and I mentioned Caruso already, and of course we haven't even mentioned the All Star. He's the Hall of Fame hyphen team. Shea Gilgis Alexander,
yeah.
SGA, I guess they call him. That's a lot easier than saying his name. He's an excellent player, but the Minnesota Timberwolves who are back in the Western Conference Finals again. This is a team who obviously has not won any NBA championships, no less been to the finals. So who do
Yeah.
you like out west, John?
No, I think OKC's going to beat them,
You do?
but you still have Edwards, who's a fantastic player, I think, very underrated player. Uh, Gobert is, he's a decent center. Randall's been playing great. DiVincenzo's been playing. I mean, they have some really good players on that team. And the
They
fact is that they're the hottest team in the NBA in the last 30 games. The 25-5. So it's good for them to be on a streak. I don't think that they're going to be able to match up I mean, I think it'll go 6 to 7 games, but I think OKC is going to come out
Okay.
ahead on this one.
All right.
Either
Well, since
way, to me, it doesn't really matter because we could beat either one of those teams, the Knicks. But
first things
I,
first.
I, first things first, we got to play defense.
Well, we know that. So, folks, please watch for the 3-point defense. John's key to the series. I can't disagree with him on that. So, NBA, which we rarely ever start with, but how could
Hmm.
you not in the tri state? Hockey, unfortunately, is not a story in the tri state, but we do have to briefly mention a team, a franchise that I like to poke fun at, and especially with this new US Canada rivalry that is somehow, I think the Canadians care a hell of a lot more than the Americans about this. But the Toronto Maple Leafs are out again after losing another game 7, and just to get absolutely blown out in game 5 and in game 7 in front of the home crowd. Eastern Canada is a lake of tears, John.
And it's amazing that the way they lost those games in front of their home fans, you would think that they would show some type of pride. It, wow, that was an embarrassment for them.
So they have now they set the record in futility in game 7, amazingly tied with the Avalanche, who have also lost, I think it was 8 game 7s in a row. I don't know how that
Wow,
happened.
wow,
Brutal as a fan.
wow.
So the Maple Leafs, who have not won the Stanley Cup or been to the Stanley Cup since 1967, it makes you feel good about being a New York fan, John. I'll tell you.
Oh boy, we'll be
So
hearing it. I'll be hearing it from the Canadians when they call for my birthday, which is coming soon. So
well, they have one hope, Canada, Edmonton out west, that will play the Dallas Stars. So, yeah, the Sun Belt, East Coast, Southern teams, Carolina and Florida, these hockey hotbeds, John, Southern Florida, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Dallas, Texas. They deserve
but
it.
they have pretty good fan bases in
No,
those
they do.
areas. They do. They attend their games.
They do. No, I'm
when
only kidding. I
when
do. I think it's great that the NHL has expanded like that. I really do. I think it's great, and I think they're good where they are. And I guess the last, obviously the Rangers have yet to make any moves. We'll definitely talk about that when that starts. Same with the Islanders. And then also the Utah hockey team, John, has a name. I don't know if you saw that.
no, I did
Was
not.
it the Utah Mammoth? The Mammoth is their nickname.
Mammoth.
Yes, like
Okay.
the mammoth from the prehistoric ages, a woolly mammoth, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they're going to be called. So that's obviously a team that we rarely speak about. The old team that was in Arizona. But anyway, so that's it with the NHL because we're just not involved in the tri-state. So John, we haven't even mentioned the NFL yet. There's really not a lot to talk about, but there is a little story, I guess, flag football in the Olympics.
Yeah. I
Did you hear that?
I heard about it. Uh,
So in 2028, I believe, when the Olympics are going to LA, or is it 26? I don't know. I think it's one of the two, the 28th. This came out today, folks. Sorry. I have the details that
I think it's 26, isn't it?
is it? That's next year. It's hard to believe we're already in 25. So the NFL is allowing their players to play in a flag football format in the Olympics. I think I'll take the Americans in the gold medal for that one, John. So yeah, you just hope that I mean, not that the Jet fans have to worry about any of their players being on that team, but um, so I think, yeah, Travis Hunter would probably be a pretty good selection there. But anyway, so it's so funny. There's not much to talk about. I mean, do you have anything out? I mean, is there something that
I
over the last
mean,
couple of weeks?
just something, a couple of things really quickly is because we haven't spoken in a while, but Zerline and Morstead, goodbye. Well, for the
Did
Jets,
not talk about Morstead and Zerline. You're right. That is true.
yeah, they
So
released both of them.
that is, I'm sorry you, I'm so happy you brought that up. Right. So the Jets, John, just another example of where they're headed. This is, John,
They
this
want, they're
about
getting rid of all the old guys. I mean, it's
their
clear. I mean,
a kicker.
Morstead didn't do poorly last year. He really didn't.
He had a
Uh,
very solid year, John. Now Zerline was a different story, but their
right,
problem is they basically, at kicker, they're running out the guy Carlson, who they had last year at the end of the year, but he didn't even
right,
kick the last game. Some other unknown kicked, and then they got it's a rookie free agent kicker. And then on the punting side, it's the same thing. Some guy they've signed last year at the end of the year, and then another undrafted rookie. It's so, you're going to go into the season with a rookie kicker potentially and a rookie punter. You're asking for trouble. That's just the way the league works. Rookie kickers miss key kicks. It
of
happens
course
all
they
the
do.
time. And having a punter who's unproven, I mean, you're just asking for trouble. So yeah, that one, I'm glad you brought it up, John. Just a really
Yeah,
strange, strange,
yeah. I didn't
strange.
understand the Morstead move because, all right, maybe you keep him around for another year and maybe help train the upcoming punters, or maybe make him a coach somewhere down the line. I mean, I didn't
John,
I didn't quite understand that one.
they don't want to pay a punter because he's got so many years in the league, so he's making more money. But you're right, he's also a good locker room guy.
Right,
But
right,
I think it's just showing they just don't want anybody from the prior regime who has any sort of personality. And Morstead does, he's media savvy. He talks to the media. He has like interactions with fans. I don't know what this team, this franchise is thinking that they're going to have this overly controlled environment now. They're going to go from one extreme to the other, right? So
maybe
it
they don't want
always
any old
some
guys.
mistakes,
They
and
don't
now
want any old guys on the team.
right, they just want a bunch of kids that are going to say yes sir, no sir.
Yeah,
So hey, John, the Jets they're going to prove it on the field. It's a the Morstead move is a it's just a dumb decision. Zerline was kind of a no brainer. I'm not going to go crazy about it because it's a results business. They have confidence. This is what this new regime is going to do, John. They're going to make decisions, and we're going to judge them by their decisions.
correct.
We're going to be fair about it. So right now, it's like I don't think it's a good move. I'm not going to go crazy, but because they are in a rebuild, and that's what they are, and they have not signed any more free agents.
No,
They definitely could use some help in the wide receiver room. I don't know what they're thinking. So yeah, before you know it, right, John? I mean, it's
it's
we
right
just
around the corner. I mean,
right
what are
around the
we?
corner. There'll be mini camp in June, so that'll be a little interesting. Get some stories out of that, and then of course they'll have some OTA stuff, but
Yep.
it's still some. We still got some time, but always it's always time to bash the Jets. What else? What else is new?
Well, your man Brock Purdy finally got paid.
Wow, did he get paid? That is a absolute blowaway contract. It's just it's you could argue it's the going rate for a quarterback. I mean, Brock Purdy is not a top 10 quarterback.
He got 5 years,
Yeah,
265 million, 165 million of it guaranteed.
it's got an enormous contract. No,
Yeah,
it's really talk about pushing the chips in with one player. John, at a bargain, he was great. Now that you're paying him top dollar, yeah, we'll see. I mean, the 49ers is a weird situation going on. They had a terrible season, tons of injuries. So they're I'm not going to say they're rebuilding, they're retooling. At least you could say that for
right,
them,
right.
as opposed to the Jet fans who like to say the Jets are retooling. They're rebuilding. So yeah, good point there. And then of course, out of the Giants side, we'll mention them briefly. Jackson Dart looks like Unitas, of course. So you take that with a grain of salt. So I come from the old school, John, where just don't tell me anything. Don't build them up. Don't tell me he looks good in t-shirts and the shorts. I don't know, just it'll happen over time. Just let him watch. Let him watch. See the other veterans play. If their veterans are struggling, it's mid-season and the kid's ready, you throw him in there. There's no reason to rush that kid.
Yeah.
And their jobs look like they're definitely going to get another year. So I don't think Dayball is going to be in a pressure situation having to win with potentially a rookie quarterback playing half the season.
Yeah. And, I love when they're showing them throwing a football, when no one's coming after them. Wow, that looks great. Look at that beautiful spiral they have on. There's no one around them. There's no one chasing them.
John, last offseason, how many times did you see the Aaron Rodgers spinning a beautiful pass in like
Right.
training camp? Like you said, I mean, it is so meaningless. But yeah, it's just I don't know. Some people eat it up, I guess. I don't. The Giants have to prove it on the field. This is just both franchises. I mean, there's no doubt there's definitely more excitement with the Giants. I mean, the Jets are just going into 2025 season, John. It's like you can't get any lower expectations. And I guess we should mention the schedule came out as well,
Yeah, yeah.
right, since we last spoke. So, unlike the prior year where the Jets absolutely got screwed with the schedule, the NFL, of course, had a sense of humor and is looks that they're very confident that Aaron Rodgers will sign with the Steelers over the next, I would guess, 3 to 4 weeks, which sets up opening day at the Met. I don't know what you want to call MetLife. Aaron Rodgers will be trotting on the field with an American flag.
It's a,
Yeah,
and,
they're unbelievable, right?
yeah,
They do it
and
every year with the Jets. So, no, there's very few where they got there's a London game, there's a Thursday night game, and I believe a Monday night game. I'm not going to make a big deal about the schedule either way. At least they got home games to start. To me, that was something that was good to see. Don't want them opening up on the road like they did last year. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, their schedule's obviously on the weaker side. They're playing the NFC South, so that's helped. I think they're like sixth or seventh from the bottom, the easiest schedules in the league.
yeah, it looks like a
Um,
pretty easy schedule. I mean,
right. Well, and that's how the NFL does work it, right? With the last
mm,
place teams in the division get the Benny. But I'm not. Yeah, actually, I guess the Jets technically did not finish last year. I don't know. I guess they did 5-12. The Pats. I can't remember if it was a tie or whatever. But the bottom line is they're playing the NFC South, right? So that's Tampa,
mhm.
Carolina, right? And of course, I'll forget the other teams in that division that are it's the New Orleans, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
that's right there is the big key is what
Atlanta.
yeah, and Atlanta, right? So that is not exactly murderous row, so that's good. Last year they played the West, which was obviously a lot tougher. So yeah, we'll have plenty of time to talk about the NFL, John, unless there's some other thing that popped out there that we haven't even
No,
mentioned.
I mean, speaking about the Saints, Carr finally decided to retire.
That's yeah, he retired. That's amazing, right? We talked about him coming to the Jets, and he lasted the same amount of time as Aaron Rodgers. So maybe Jimmy G. John was the best selection out of those three.
And the funny thing is with the Saints, I mean, he saved them some money by retiring, but they let him. He just had a $10 million bonus kick in very recently, and they let him
Yeah,
keep it. I said, wow, that's a nice compromise. ten
well,
million
that's what it was.
dollars.
That's what it was. Compromise, John. It made sense. Now they're moving on. The Saints will be one of the worst teams in the league. They just have no quarterback. They're going to play the rookie Shao. I can't believe they're going to do that. So yeah, so that's it. Yeah, anything else?
No, no, that's about it for NFL.
All right. Well, it's time, folks, because I mean, not only did we have the Knicks. And we should mention the Preakness Stakes was a great race, by the way. Of course, I missed it, but I did see the replay. And the WNBA kicked off with a little Caitlin Clark and a lot of TV viewers, which is good for the league. But there's only one thing that happened this weekend, which was second to the Knicks. The old Subway Series. So let's hear all about it because I want to go over in detail your thoughts with baseball. With
Uh, I was not happy with the way the Mets played at all. The pitching wasn't very good. McGill started off great this year. I don't know what's happened to him the past two games. It's almost like he can't find the plate. Just giving, we have unnecessary errors. But the one thing that really bugged me over this weekend and even last night was the lack of hustle by Juan Soto. Twice. See, one thing, I don't mind the man getting paid, but what irks me the most is when I see someone jogging to, it's always bothered me even as a kid when I used to have teammates and they're jogging to first base when they think it's an automatic. And I always say anything can happen. They could fumble, the ball could fall out of a glove. It could be a high throw. Run to first base, okay? Uh, and I think I told you this in the beginning of the year. He looks much heavier to me. And it's funny, a writer brought it up. I think it was Clappish who actually brought up that he has some pounds around the middle. I've been saying this from the beginning of the year that he looked flabby and that he's out of shape. And his body language is absolutely awful. Awful. It's like, you know, I don't know. It's like he's not having any fun. He better turn it around fast because, when you have Gary Cohen and even Keith Hernandez remarking about his lack of hustle, that's a problem. That's a problem. And I've been noticing. I didn't need them to tell me. I was getting pissed off, and that's the word I'm going to use because you know what? You could do that. The very least is hustle. Try your best. And if you're not doing well, it's okay. You know what? Eventually you come around. But to see you moping around with the flab around your middle and not hustling to first base, that annoyed me the most. The fact that Pete Alonso, and there was a very good comparison you made on the text that he pulled a Lucas Duda that night. That was actually very, very good. And for
John, it was
those,
unbelievable how similar that play was. I total flashbacks.
yeah, for the fans who don't know who Lucas Duda was, he was a first baseman for the Mets. Paul and I were at the World Series game with the Mets and the Royals, and he had pretty much a very easy throw to make to the catcher to get, which would have been, I believe, the second out of that inning.
Correct.
And the Mets could have actually won that game, that World Series game. And Pete Alonso made the same exact type of throw, just wasn't even close, went right by the catcher, and basically cost the Mets the game. And besides that, Bellinger hit a very cheap home run, a Yankee Stadium home run that would have been caught at Citi Field very easily. But the Mets were their own worst enemy this weekend. They were their own worst enemy. The Yankees really didn't. They didn't really show me that much. I mean, again, it's a weak American League. I think
Right.
their only competition will probably be the Detroit Tigers. Everyone else seems like they're mediocre. And if the Yankees get any type of starting pitching, they'll be back in the World Series again pretty easily. But
Yeah.
their lineup is a really strange lineup.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not that good, right? I mean, really, it's
No,
not. They have some weak spots in that lineup.
very weak. I mean, if when they get Jazz back, he's a good player. Stanton is, like I said, he's a power hitter. If anyone learns how to pitch to him, he's an easy out. But the one guy that started hitting again, which could really help them, is a LeMahieu. it looks like he's starting to get his stroke back. If they could get him back, that's a major addition for them. And it
No,
looks
they
like
need.
he has his stroke back.
Yeah, and there's also Volpe's got a major, confidence and that's a confidence crisis going on here with him.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's looking shaky. Yeah, no, they. It's not like the Mets. Oh, like we just lost to a better team. They definitely played sloppy baseball. They really did. And then obviously, not only is there the article like you mentioned, Clappish wrote, Michael Kay on his radio show,
No.
something
Yeah.
that, again, you have to take the source for what it is. It's the Yankees side of what's going on, saying the same thing. Because I guess what Clappish had the infamous unnamed Met management type of
Yeah,
person
right,
saying
right.
that he's unhappy. And he did, and then obviously the Yankee side, I guess Kay said he did it for his family because the family liked the Cohens so much. They liked the money so much. That's what they
Of
liked. And they
course they
took the
did.
most money. And John, I mean, I don't, we talked about this and I put it out there for our fans to comment, and feel free to comment at any time on YouTube when you're liking and subscribing, about when were the Mets going to look to trade Juan Soto once they made that trade. I said 4 years. And it's so funny because I know that was a little bit over the top. I think you may have said 8. I can't remember honestly what you said. Do you remember what you said?
No, I said that they were going to keep him the full 15.
Oh, you said you're going to keep him the full 15. So when I say, and it's look to trade, that doesn't mean they're going to trade. In other words, they're unhappy enough to try to move him. John, in year one, we're hearing this. I mean, you got to have to revise that one, right? I mean, this is very bizarre. I mean, you sign guys to these 15-year deals. I mean, it's insane. The downside is just talk about risk reward. Anyway, I don't know.
But
I
the funny
He's got
thing,
plenty of time to snap out because after all this publicity, hopefully he will snap
but the funny thing is uh, he actually has been hitting the ball pretty hard. I mean, it's not like uh, they're saying his swing is slower and all, but he's actually been hitting the ball pretty well and pretty hard. Take out the Yankee series, but before that, he was started hitting it to left center. He started hitting home runs over the left field wall. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're getting in Soto. So, I don't think he's that far away from really putting together a streak. But this, like I said, this past weekend, just really bad body language. I mean, not, and again, the effort was not very good.
and not
So
much
he
better in Boston yesterday, right? So they better
nothing.
bounce.
Well, uh, Alonso and Soto, want to look at their majestic home runs, and they both hit it off the top of the wall. And Alonso gets thrown out at second because he was admiring his ball, and he got thrown. And then Soto only made it to first base when he was just looking at his, when he hit the ball, he didn't even
Right.
move out of the batter's box. So
It wasn't even
Mendoza says he's
close.
already going to speak to him, because they did bring it up. And he says he's going to speak to him.
Well,
But
I think they just got to get his head back in the game on the mental
yeah,
side, and
yeah,
just allege unhappiness. You're still in the same city, and I think last year wasn't the story when he was with the Yankees. He was a bit of a loner as well. I thought
right,
that. I remember hearing that last year with him.
right. He wasn't like,
So this
it-
his personality. He's got plenty of time to snap out. But before we get to the rest of the team, because I do want to talk to some other of these players. What about moving them? How about changing the lineup a little bit? What do you think there?
yeah. I think there should be a change. I really don't like Nimmo batting fourth. I don't think he really belongs there. And another thing is, I really think, and I've been saying this from the beginning, especially now that Beatty is really ripping the ball. Put Beatty at third base. Okay, let's end all this nonsense now. Vientos has never been a good fielder. Let him be the permanent DH now. That's it. We don't need. I don't want to hear about uh, Marte and Winker, splitting up the DH duties.
And
No,
Winker's out,
and
right?
Winker's out.
Yeah, he's
Just
out.
let Vientos be the DH. Let Beatty be the third baseman. If you want to have Acuna and McNeil switch out at second base or put McNeil out in the outfield once in a while, fine. But they're still missing something in that lineup. I really think if they have a chance to trade and one guy, I mean, there's several center fielders that they could probably grab right now, but let's see what they do. But right now, I'm not. Taylor's a great defensive outfield, but not much of a hitter at all.
So who are you
Uh,
thinking about? Who are you thinking about? What do you mean in a trade? Like who would you say is in your mind they could get? Just throw it.
what's his name? Lewis from the White Sox.
Okay,
Uh,
anybody from the White Sox is always available. Okay.
uh, oh God, I forgot his
Don't
last name.
worry about
Is it Robert, whatever they call it?
it.
Robert.
Okay. Robert.
Um,
Okay. He's
I don't know if it's
Canadian.
Robert or Robert, how they
Okay.
pronounce it, but he was a very, very good player for the White Sox 2 years. He's had two really off years, but he's only 27 years old. He's
All
a
right.
big
There you go.
guy, has power, great defensive outfielder. I think they should go for someone like him. And I think he has, if I remember correctly, they signed him to a long-term contract. I think he has 2 years left at, I think, 17 million with some two-team options. So you could get a guy really young who maybe he turns around being on a contending team. I don't
All
know,
right.
but I would go for someone like that. If they're willing to give up on him and would give him like a minor league pitcher or two, which is what they need, I would go for him and just scrap this whole mishmash in center field.
Well, yeah. I mean, you cannot play Jeff McNeil in center field. I mean, he gives
No,
the
no.
ball. Don't get me wrong, but I mean that just weakens your defense. But one other guy that I definitely wanted to talk about, and it's behind the plate, Alvarez. I mean, what's your view overall defensively and as a hitter? I mean, would you want to see Torrens play more?
I would want him to play more. Yes, Torrens is definitely a much better defensive catcher. I mean, you never see that man bounce a throw to second base. Where with Alvarez, it seems like he bounces everything to second base, and Lindor's always pulling him out of a hole. They say, "Oh, what a great throw by Alvarez!" Meanwhile, it's like so far off the bag, and Lindor's tagging the butt of the guy as he's going by. I mean, yeah, Alvarez um, needs to work on his defense, and I think that I don't know what's happened to him as a hitter. He actually looks pretty weak up there. What happened to his power?
Yeah,
What happened to his power?
he's
You
had no
know,
power this year, right?
it's
Definitely concerned. And is Acuna a everyday player, or is he just a really good utility guy? I think I'm leaning utility guy. I mean, he's still young. Don't get me wrong, but I
yeah. For
don't know if
now,
he's an everyday player.
yeah. For now, he's a utility guy, but he has speed. He's an exciting player. He likes to steal, which is
But he's
great.
been playing every day, though. He's playing
Yeah,
every day.
yeah.
You
Well,
you like him playing every day.
I don't mind him splitting time with McNeil. I'd
So
like to see a little bit more of McNeil. I
okay.
believe that if McNeil gets more time, it'll make him more marketable so we could trade him away because he has, I think, a year left on his contract after this year. I think if we could get some more pitching, I'd trade McNeil now.
Okay, cool. And then, of course, the never ending, the Mets organization will not let their pitchers pitch in the seventh inning. Peterson, I think, actually got into the seventh inning. Then he walked the first guy. Then he pulled him. They were making a big deal about Senga asking to pitch the sixth inning last night, like he was sacrificing his life. I thought that the booth made a little bit too much of a big deal about that. I mean, that should be the minimum he's going 6 innings. I don't want to hear about any sort of historic effort to get to six. I mean, John, these guys have to pitch deeper in the games,
They have
in
to.
the playoffs, and now because let's face it, Diaz has been tremendous.
Yes, he
It's
has.
just getting to Diaz, and they're getting some obviously very good efforts, right? Barbazon, or however you pronounce his name, has been good. Stanek has not been good. Garrett's been good, but he was good last year until he ran out of gas. Uh,
Yeah,
so it's just, Kranick has been struggling a little bit lately.
yeah,
So
yes,
it's
he
just
has.
the constant reliance on the bullpen every night to get 9 outs.
I think the
It's
problem with
crazy.
I think the problem with Senga, what happened with him in that game is after 4 innings he had thrown already 71 pitches.
Right. He did throw 100 pitches, so I
Yeah,
get right. So that was the bright side of it, that he threw 100.
right,
That's great. But we can't make it sound like it's such this huge accomplishment to throw 100 pitches and 6 innings.
right.
Not good enough to win it all. And that, again, I know I keep on talking about this, and people are
No, and you're
frustrated.
correct.
I
You're
just don't
correct
get
because
it. I don't understand it.
you see guys like Gooden. If you look back, and we're not talking about we're talking about 40 years ago, but going against Nolan Ryan in the playoffs and pitching 10 innings and Ryan pitching 11 innings. I mean, whatever happened to this? Whatever happened to the guys finishing the game? Seaver, all these guys. Even, again, even in the 90s, even in the beginning of the 2000s, they had guys pitching complete games. How many do you see right now? None.
Right. It's a analytically driven thing that when they get through the lineup at the third time, they're less effective. All right, I give the analytic folks that. You're right, they are. But the problem is you're putting all the pressure on the bullpen for the whole season,
Yep.
make up that, because the starter is not as effective. But it's not like the bullpen is coming in and is 3 up and 3 down all the time. And when you're relying on them over 162 games, to me, that's the problem when you get to the playoffs. And then the next thing you know, they want 3 innings out of Diaz in the playoffs.
Right.
And
Right.
that will equally drive you berserk. It's like, what,
Yeah.
because your starters aren't going deep enough is why you're looking at Diaz to get 8 or 9 outs in a playoff game. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Get these guys stretched out. It's just none of them. I mean, Peterson, I guess, is the only one. He got into the seventh inning, right? And he walked the guy, and they pulled him immediately. So,
You know what the problem is
ah,
with the Mets as well is we have some pitchers that get quite a few strikeouts. Like Senga gets quite a few strikeouts, Peterson. So the guys that are getting a lot of strikeouts end up throwing a lot more pitches,
true.
obviously.
Yeah.
Um, I'll say one thing is Canning and Holmes, tremendous. Especially Canning. I mean, I remember him with the Angels, and I remember him always having great stuff, but just giving up untimely home runs, and I tell you, Hefner gets all the credit in the world for turning around these guys.
But both of those guys don't go past
No, they
five or
don't.
six.
Yeah, and I know,
It's the same
I know.
problem. It's in the playoffs, and this is about winning championships, right? That's what I think it's very important to put out there. It's about winning it all. And do they have the right formula? Because 5 innings in a playoff game it's just not good enough.
No, it's
It's
not.
just not enough. It's not good enough. All right, well, maybe they'll do 5 innings of Canning and 4 innings of Holmes in the playoffs. Maybe that's where they're headed, John.
Yeah, who
Maybe they're going to
knows?
go that direction.
Maybe,
Just putting it
maybe.
on Diaz every night, and then he's got, like I said, pitching multiple innings. I mean, I
He's
don't know
good for
if
one.
he
He's
does that
good for
for all.
one inning.
Right, and that's
Just
what he should be. All right,
close
well,
it
I
out.
like it. Well, so anything? I mean, we talked a little bit about the Yankees because obviously they played the Mets and beat the Mets. I don't know anything else in the
I
NL.
mean, just multiple firings. Hyde was fired by the Orioles. Shelton fired by the Pirates. Bud Black, which I can't believe how long he lasted being managed. He got fired by the Rockies. I never understood how that man kept this job for so long. And then we had a couple of retirements. Matt Carpenter retired. Longoria retired. which again, these guys were excellent players. The one big thing that happened is my man Alvarado from the Phillies, 80-game suspension, will not be allowed to play in the playoffs. Will
Right.
not be allowed. So performance enhancing drugs. It's always that testosterone that they happen to find.
Well, hey, it couldn't happen to a better team there, so that's okay with us.
And then, of course, all these guys getting hurt left and right. I mean, Sasaki is out with an elbow problem. Um, the funny, this player that was released, Chris Taylor, got released from the Dodgers,
Right.
which he was like really part of their team atmosphere, environment. He was clutch, gone. I mean, they released the man. So, a lot of little things going on, but and one player passed, and I'm sure you remembered him. Chet Lemon passed away. If you
Yes,
remember
Chet
Chet,
Lemon. Yes, I did see that.
yeah, yeah,
I want to say Chet the Jet, but that was Chet Walker, I believe. I don't know if they
yeah,
gave that name to Chet
yeah.
Lemon,
No,
but
Chet,
yeah, he was a good player.
no, Chet Lemon was an excellent outfielder. He made a couple of All-Star teams. No, he was a good player, really good player.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah, passed away.
Well, there's one last story left in MLB world. This is off the field and definitely worthy of another rant of the week.
Thanks, Paul. So, I don't know what to say about Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball. Maybe he's like Kennesaw Mountain Landis in his judgment, uh, because those two guys are somehow linked here. And if people don't know what I'm talking about, Kennesaw Mountain Landis was a judge who became a commissioner in baseball many, many years ago, and was actually the person who decided to ban Shoeless Joe Jackson from ever playing baseball again because of the 1919 White Sox scandal, where they thought that all these different players uh, were paid off to lose the World Series to the Cincinnati Reds. Now, why am I bringing him up? Because Mr. Manfred now decides that all these dead players are allowed to be reinstated into baseball. One of them happens to be Pete Rose. What I don't understand, and I'm going to read you the comment that he made because it's just so stupid and so dumb that I can't believe that this guy is actually the commissioner of baseball. He says the reason why he decided this whole reinstatement thing for dead ball players is obviously a person no longer with us cannot represent a threat to the integrity of the game. Does that make any sense to anyone? What Shoeless Joe Jackson, what is he going to come out of his grave or something? I mean, I don't understand this. And the fact that he's doing it right after Pete Rose passed away, and you have gambling all over baseball, all over these major sports, and now you didn't give the man the chance of at least being considered to be voted into the Hall of Fame. Now that he's dead, I think it's 2027 that what used to be called the Veterans Committee, I think they call it I don't know, the era uh, committee, or I don't know, late era. I don't know what they call it now. It used to be called the Veterans Committee, that they could actually vote on his possibility of being a Hall of Famer. I just really think it's unfair. Uh, and the greatest quote by Pete Rose of all time is, "I'm not like Otani. I didn't have a translator to cover for me." Still the biggest scandal going, by the way, that how people believe this. It's like believing the fake news. It's just amazing that you're going to tell me the man didn't know about all this. So I just think it's a crazy ruling. They should have given the man a right, and including Shoeless Joe Jackson. I mean, if you really look at his stats for that World Series, by the way, he was illiterate. He didn't even know how to sign his own name. That's how illiterate this man was.
Right.
And
Sorry, yeah.
actually, they gave him money, and he tried to give it back, and says, "I don't want any part of this." Man hit 375 during the World Series. I don't know how they could think he was throwing any games. And this was like one of the top hitters in the game. So I'm not happy about this. I think the timing is really awful. And it's I don't know how to describe it. I just think you're promoting gambling. You're promoting gambling to young people. It there's so many things to bet on during the game, and even during the games you're saying, well, if you put this amount of money on this, and it's absurd. Pete Rose should have been reinstated many years ago. So that
Well,
is my rant.
well, good for you, John. That was really a travesty, thinking that if Pete Rose was alive, he would do something after getting reinstated to make the MLB look bad. It's just Manfred's got to look in the kids, his kids' eyes and say, this was the right decision. When your forefather died, like literally within a year, really, just like an insensitive thing to do. Not that Manfred had anything to do with the original situation with Pete Rose.
Right.
Will this committee put him in? But it really is just really meaningless at this point, where the other side of it really could have been, a kind of a, really a reconciliation for Pete Rose. Love him or hate him, he was a Hall of Famer. It would have been a good thing to have him in sooner. So great way to end the show. We're happy we're back. We will continue to be on every other week. So who do you got to thank, John?
Again, as always, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners and viewers. Keep the feedback coming and the commentary. We love to see it. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. Go New York, go New York, go. See you in 2 weeks.